Hey, everybody. So today is Take the Stage Tuesday, and I am Amy Michaels. I am one of the founding members here of WIN. I'm also your legal compliance and risk advisor if you ever need support. But I have Debra here today because I know a lot of us are business owners, and we are typically coming to the market space, building a business from our expertise. And a lot of times that expertise is not knowing how to sell ourselves or market ourselves. So I have Debra here. I will let her introduce herself and tell her, or let her tell you a little bit more about who she is, what she does. But I invited her because she's helping me get some visibility, and I thought she could bring some tips. So I have some questions for her that you guys would be able to get some value from. And I'll just turn things over to her and let her share.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Amy. And I've been loving collaborating with you and learning about WIN. And hi, everyone. And let's see, I'll give you a brief kind of overview of what I've been up to and how I could help. And then we can get into some tips and questions. So basically, I've actually been a copywriter for over 2 decades. So I've been used to selling products, not people. And with female power players, I have switched to people because I love supporting women, and I love being able to help women get their message out there. And sometimes we're afraid to toot our own horns, and someone else can help us do it. So I'm kind of there to be the cheerleader and director for how to get yourself seen by the right people in the ways that you want to be seen so that you can connect with people, because it's not just about selling these days. It's really about connecting and having your services and help reach those people who need it, that are in alignment with what you offer. But I'm here to answer questions, and I'm excited to chat with you.
Okay. Well, as someone who has promoted incredible women through written interviews on femalepowerplayers.com, myself included, what are your top tips for leveraging written content to enhance online visibility?
So yeah, so like you said, so these are really easy to do because you don't have to be on the spot. You literally get a set of questions that are custom to your scenario that are going to bring out your best strengths. And that's going to help guide you into what to talk about. So I kind of use my direct response copywriting background for that. Something like unique selling proposition. That's just what makes you different from everyone else out there. So maybe you're a coach, maybe you sell something, but what makes you stand out compared to the others in the space? So I think, the questions are a part of it, but also thinking about what makes you different. So definitely your unique selling proposition. Definitely, like we've chatted about before, just being authentic. I think people really know when they're being sold to, and it's not always the best experience. I think that really just getting to know people is the best way to know who you want to work with, because you develop that trust and credibility instead of just bullet pointing credibility and numbers of I've been doing this for this many years. It's like, you can just kind of get started and start giving your tips. And if somebody resonates with that, then they're going to want to know more. What else? Okay, so being authentic, having the right questions, not being afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, for so long, I remember even I thought about having a podcast at one point, and it just seemed like such a big undertaking that I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to be on other people's podcasts and and be in other people's articles, because sometimes you don't have to do the whole grunt work. Sometimes you just want to collaborate with other people, and it takes a lot of the busy work out of it and a lot of the stress out of it. Um,
Yeah.
mhm.
With that, I've found that that's bringing them value, because if you have a podcast that is guest focused, you are always going to need guests. So that's another way that you can bring value just at another level by podcasting.
Totally. Yeah, and then just finding your voice too. I mean, the way that you talk to your friends might be different than the way that you talk to your clients, but sometimes it's nice to be yourself even in business. and not have to put on that front. At least that's how I like to see it, because I like to really be authentic and show people's most authentic side. And it's not just about selling your services. Sometimes it's about your story too. So a lot of times in the interview questions for female power players, I'll ask somebody a question about what they do out where they live, or what's your why, what, like, is it your daughter that you want to impress, or so really just getting into what makes you you, and what you've overcome and what you've learned. And it's just really good to share those things with the world. And that can either be through your own article, it can be through an interview, it can be on LinkedIn, even just commenting on other people's posts, just to show what you believe in, your values, your I could go on and on and on, but we should probably get to the next question.
So you touched on LinkedIn, and a lot of us here that have businesses where our people would be on LinkedIn, how can we amplify our own personal brand? Do you have any specific tips for posting or engaging through comments on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so there's a few things I've been learning over the past year on LinkedIn. I've been sort of spending way too much time on there. But I know that you can really increase your following if you start a newsletter. And I know that sounds daunting, but that's a really great way if you're trying to get a lot of followers. And you can even use something like ChatGPT to get some of that content out, because you're directing it. So, if you're using ChatGPT or Jasper, which is just to write your copy, you can say 5 tips on how to spend less time in business, or, you just have to prompt it right, and then change it to your voice, and you can crank something out within minutes. So, and then consistency is key, because people need to see that you're constantly an authoritative voice. So many tabs open in the brain. There's so many more. So there's consistency, there's commenting on other people's posts, there's creator mode. So another thing is you want to shift your LinkedIn to creator mode, so that you can get followers as well as connections, because sometimes people don't want to connect with you, but they'll follow you, and then you can see that they're following you, and then they're more likely to add you as a connection. Other thing is posting in other people's groups and joining other people's groups. And another thing is, if you create your own group, naming it correctly. You don't want to call it something random like Debra's busy. It should be something like, like, say I wanted to attract marketers, I would say, marketing tips. So the name is very important too, just to get people to join. So those are a few LinkedIn tips. And then you can also be you can be a contributor to articles on LinkedIn. Those will pop up in your LinkedIn feed, and you can just write the answers to 1 to 3 questions, and then people see that. And LinkedIn kind of tracks everything you do. So if somebody likes my post, I can see who liked it, not just in that post, but in the feed. So really everything you do on LinkedIn is giving you more visibility. And then, when you get your female power player interview, you get to have it posted in the LinkedIn group and in the Facebook group. So then, yeah, and then you can share that however you want. So then you start to get other people's audiences, and that way you're building your audience.
Okay. Well, to touch on that a little bit more, can you talk about the interview that you offer, and
Sure.
how does that help prepare people for getting visibility on other podcast interviews, or just how does it boost their visibility in general?
Yeah, so it's a really painless way to do it. It's sort of like the hard work is done for you. You just have to answer the questions in a Google Doc and send some pictures, and then I publish it for you on femalepowerplayers.com. And then on the there's a LinkedIn Female Power Players group and a Facebook, but then also what we have is the option to get it spotlighted in the Affiliate Ball AFI Awards newsletter, which has almost 90,000 business owners and performance marketers. So that's a way to get seen on a massive scale, and you can get into the preview text of the subject, that copy that goes under the subject line. And then so we just promoted one last week, was Carrie Hartman, and she was promoted with Method Man, who is going to be the performer in New York in a month for the affiliate ball. So we are partnered, Female Power Players is partnered with Affiliate Ball and the AFI Awards. So we can make you famous in the performance marketing industry and with business owners.
Fantastic. So for those who are still trying to find their voice, what strategies can they use to share valuable content, such as like quotes or articles, to build their credibility?
That's a really great point. That was actually something I was just thinking of is if you don't know exactly what you want to say yet, or even what you want to talk about, sometimes you just share things that you agree with. And I did that for a while. I was just sharing quotes and forwarding articles that I liked, that I thought would be helpful to people, until I could figure out what I wanted to talk about. And this was before Female Power Players. So yeah, so you can start by sharing other people's posts, and then maybe starting with a short post, just something that you think, think about the day in the life and the struggles and objections of your ideal customer. What is keeping them from reaching their goals, and how can you or your product or service help them get to that? So it's really kind of hooking people in to talk about what they're struggling with, whether it's weight loss or business building, getting into the pain points and then coming up with ways to overcome those. So that alone could be a message. And you don't have to, if you don't feel like writing something, once a week, you can do it all in one day and post them once a week. It's really, you have to do what works for you. It's kind of like diet and exercise. If you have to just eat what you want and move. And there's so many ways to do it. There's so many platforms, but my advice is to do what you're comfortable with, because then you're actually going to do it.
So would you say that that might be a big mistake that people make, is they aren't thinking of who their ideal client is when they're making content, and they're just like putting random stuff out there?
Well, sometimes I think it's different for everyone. But I think that that's one of the most important things, because if you think about a message and connecting, it's not just what you're saying, it's how the other person is interpreting it. So, your message is going to change whether you're in making a comment on someone's profile versus writing an article that's more authoritative versus, and there's some people that think their product is for everyone. And while that may be the case, if you target everyone, it's going to be hard to really connect with anyone. So, like just the way that I would talk to you on this chat would be different than if I were, sitting down in front of 100 people, because you just sort of have to like meld to where you are to the situation. But yeah, target audience is super important. And you can even create a customer avatar for your target persona. Let's say there was so for example, I used to think, oh, I'm going to have all women be a female power player. And then I realized, what, this is mostly focused towards business owners and CEOs at the top of their game and marketers. And niching that out as much as you can is even better. I'm getting into, this is for performance marketers, especially with the database and whatnot. So figuring out who you're talking to is important before you even say anything or write anything.
I have one last question.
Sure.
And so, um, and this is all great information for those of us who haven't really put ourselves out there on video. What is the most effective way if we are trying to create messaging and getting ourselves out there and visible in written form? What would you say the top tip is?
In written form. Okay, let's see. I was just going to take my light away in case they were video tips. I think the top thing is to focus on things that that not only matter to your customer but also matter to you. So things that your customers can relate to. So talking about your values, writing about your values, what you believe in, your struggles, really just being authentic, because you don't have to have all the answers. I think a lot of people fall into this trap where they think they have to have figured everything out before they can get on video, or before they can get on someone's podcast, or before they can write something. But really, we're all at different levels, at different points in our lives. A lot of people are restarting completely new careers. I think, we're all here to help each other. And it's really just getting rid of the fear and just, figuring out what you want to say. And, sometimes it can just start with, what is the product, and why is it amazing, and how can you use it in your daily life? And not just the features, but the benefits. What does that mean for you? For some people, a product will just be something that sits in their closet. But if you talk about it as something that's life changing, and you can make new friends and get noticed, and it's really about what your services do and what problems they alleviate.
Great. I appreciate it. So, if any of you think that maybe you need some help in this avenue or arena, getting yourself out there and getting visibility, but you're not necessarily comfortable getting on camera, articles in written format is a wonderful way to pursue that. Feel free to send me a message and I can connect you with Deborah directly if you think she might be any benefit or help in getting you visible. Well, thanks for coming on,
I would love to
Deborah.
help anyone that wants help, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you can always send me a message through through the messenger, Facebook Messenger, and I will connect you with Deborah.
Perfect.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye.
it.